Board churn looks set to rise as a result of the pandemic. Three key reasons for this, I think. Firstly, changed circumstances and changed strategies might require different people. Secondly, some directors have been found wanting during the crisis and they just might simply need to be moved on. Thirdly, some directors might self-select and say, actually, this isn't the job that I now want to do. The nature of it has changed. It may be much harder work, more time consuming or whatever. Now, in an ideal world where there's a high degree of self-awareness, where the chair is having active conversations regularly with the directors, this can all be very straightforward and very smooth. A simple conversation, recognizing that change needs to happen and dealing with it very maturely. But what happens if we're not in that ideal world? What happens if we're in a world where the person going, this may not be what they want? What do we do? Well, the first thing we do, I think, is be clear what our principles are for going through this process. And for me, there are three. Firstly, we need to prepare really, really well. Secondly, we need to treat that person with a great deal of respect and empathy, even if they've caused damage. They're still a human being. And thirdly, we want to maintain the momentum of the organisation through and beyond whatever this transition is. So what are the practical things we need to consider? Well, firstly, we need to get our rationale straight and make sure we're on solid legal ground with a proper employment lawyer giving us advice for that. We may, of course, be removing the person not just as a director, but also as an employee if they're an executive director or a shareholder. So we need to be clear about how we're going to handle those aspects. As to who should do it, typically that's the chair with the support of the company secretary, but if it's the chair themselves, then that's the senior independent director, typically in a public company, the lead investor in a private equity backed situation with the appropriate support. And if it's an executive, then the CEO and the HRD. We need to decide when we're going to do it, have the board approval in place beforehand in a neutral location, ideally. We don't want this to be a debate, so we have to have a clear mantra. We have to anticipate what questions we're going to have, and we have to be clear with the person what the next steps are, especially with regard to communications. Now, most boards don't say, the reason Joe's moving on or Janet's going is because actually they turned out to be massively underwhelming, a great disappointment. We tend not to say that. We tend to wrap it in good corporate neutral language. So to sum up, I expect board churn will be on the increase. If we have to remove directors, then we have to prepare well. We have to treat them as human beings. And we have to really focus on maintaining the momentum of the organisation through that. Thank you.